Hello everyone and welcome back into another episode of Python tutorial. And in this tutorial, we're gonna see how we can build the function, which is the core of every application, regardless whether it's going to be data analytics or it's going to be a website or any software application. Functions are the building blocks that provide the functionalities, and these functions they combine to convert the functionality into the logical units, which sometimes we call them packages or libraries. And these libraries interact together to provide the solution of your problem, right? So we're going to actually start from the fundamental level where we see how we can develop the functionality and block it out, because one of the main core reason of building this function. So let's give an example. If you look at your screen, for example, I have this block of code, right, which I'm using, and I'm checking what the value of my flag. Now imagine I want to run this code 10 times, or I need to use this code 10 times. If I don't have a method to reuse this statement, I need to write it down 10 times, right? So let me just copy it. And for example, after another 2 lines, I need to run it again. So I have to type it again, right? So which is not going to be a very good practice, because it's just going to be increase the repetition, and it's going to increase the volume of your code with no reason, right? So in order to reduce the number of lines, we need a smart way to build these things, right? Which we call functional programming, modular programming, and then we move towards the object orientation, which provide even further refinement to our approach to build the application, right? But we will start in this tutorial, or in this video, with the simplest one, where we'll see how the function help us to recall the functionality again and again, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually put a block that I can recall or reuse it again and again. So let's go and let's define a block. So for example, let's call it get flag status, right? All right. So we have this flag status, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna use this block to get the status of my flag. But instead of printing, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna return true and false. A very simple example, right? So F is capital. Yeah, please change it to capital. And if flag, sorry, that's the else part. I'm going to, yeah, that's the true, right? Okay, much better now. Let us run the indentation. Yeah, also. Right? So now I can use this function anywhere in my code, and all it's gonna do, by the way, if you remember the last video where we build the logic, where we're gonna see if the full name is not separated, the first name and last name is not separated by the space in full name, we're gonna call it the data quality error, right? So I'm trying to make it more closer to the data world. So folks who are more interested in looking how we build the quality rules into different piece of data, they can see the practical example, right? So in the last video, we built the logic that how you can check that if the name is coming with space or with not, right? So what I'm doing, I'm just checking the full name. If there is a space in the full name, that means the name has been separated by obviously the space, the part of the names are separated by the space, right? So I'm returning true, and by default I'm storing the value of the flag as false, right? So if it is not true while we executing the loop, that means there is no space it has found in the name, so that means there is an error, right? So that's why we are putting the flag as false, right? So whenever we get the flag as false, that means there is an issue with the full name, right? And whenever it is true, that means our full name is correct, right? And even we can get full name value status, or we can even call it validation. Always try to give a proper name So people who are reading your code, they can understand, right? Sometimes the short name might help you to finish your code quickly, but later on, people who are not familiar with your code, it's gonna be a disaster for them once they read your code, right? Sometimes they spend so much time. It's a very common practice and problem in the professional field, where we take over someone's code, and if we the naming conventions are not correctly in place, it's nightmare to understand the code and try get the logic out of the code, right? And we all dealt this thing in our career, right? So that's why. And by the way, while we are building it, let me just show you. So in Python, you use the def keyword to define the function in your code, and then after the def, you need to give the function name, which can be, like I mentioned, is a proper conveying or I would say meaningful name that you can that shows the functioning of your function, right, or your block, right? In here I'm just saying get full name value validation, right, whether it's going to be a valid or invalid, right? And then obviously the small brackets, they shows or they indicate that that's the function to Python. And then afterwards, like I mentioned in the previous video, that dot showing the Python that there's an upcoming block of code which is going to be associated with this piece, right? And we have used it in the if statement, and we have used it in the looping statements, right? So wherever you need to define the block, you're going to see that in Python, colon is going to be the fundamental part where it shows that, okay, where the name finish or the command finish and the block start, we put the colon, right? So now the logic is pretty simple. What I'm going, because I've already defined the flag, or we can define as a parameter and then check it. But because I've already defined the flag in the previous cell, so all I'm just checking, if flag has true, then return true, otherwise return false. Now, what I can do, let me just run this now. So we define the function. The next step is how we're going to actually get function. Oh, I think, did I? Yeah, I done it. Oh, sorry, that's not fun. It's full, right? Yeah, now we are good. All right, so let's see what we're gonna do, right? So we can see we are getting the false information. That means the value is not correct, right? So you can see it's just giving us the false as we have seen as part of this function. Now I'm going to turning it into a bit more cleaner way to do the same work. But now you're gonna see how things build up once we follow the approach of the proper procedural or functions pattern, right? What I'm going to do, instead of putting this logic outside in a separate cell, you're gonna see I'm going to put now as part of this function. So I'm going to change the body of this function, and now you can see I'm just changing the indentation of my function. All good. Right. So what I have done, instead of putting it as a separate statement, I have actually built a function, and I'm now putting the whole logic, which is going to check the value of my full name and return me the status of my value, whether it's a valid value or not, right? And at the end, once I've checked it, that's going to be a different. I'm going to return this value, is flag, right? So because that's something that the calling environment needs to get it, right? So now it's all good. I believe I'm not going to see any difference until unless I change the values in here. Let me just clear this output. Yeah, so I think that's good. So we have underscore in the, if you remember the last video, if you haven't seen it, please watch the last video, because that this video is linked with the last one. Let me just put the right name, right? So you have the John space Fisher. We are good with the name. It's a qualified name. So let's see what if I run our function now. right? And now if I'm going to call my function, what it's going to do, it's going to look at the full name, and it try to find the space between the full name. If it finds it, it's going to actually validate or return true. If it doesn't find it, it's going to return as false, or means the value is invalid, right? So let me just run it. Now you can see we have the correct value, right? And even we can just put some cosmetics. We can say if function then print full name is valid, and obviously if else if it is not. I'm again typing, so what I'm gonna do, just type it, the full name is invalid, right? But still now you can see we have hard coded the field in my function that I have to go up and I have to change the full name. It doesn't give me the functionality to pass the value if I want to, right? I have to go up because I have defined a variable and I need to change that variable, and then function return me the result, right? But how about if I need to pass the value on the runtime, right? Instead of defining the value statically and then calling it. So that's where the parameters come into the picture. So what I'm going to show as a next step, that how about if I just say, okay, so param full name, that's my parameter, and I'm just going to, now instead of hard coding the variable, I'm just passing my parameter. Now what's the advantage is going to give me? Let me quickly show you. Now it is expecting, now if I run it now, it's going to give me error because it is expecting now a parameter or value, because now it is depending upon what value I'm sending it, right? So if I run it, you're going to see, yeah, we are getting a value because missing one required positional argument, which the function is expecting. So that's fine. I'm going to, because I know my variable, which I have already defined previously. So let's run it. Yeah, the full name is valid, but there is another advantage. If I just want to, instead of going again and again on the top, if I want to check, for example, another name, right? So let's say I'm going to say, uh, uh Salah, right? Let's run this one. Yeah, it's a valid. And how about if I just put, underscore again, it's the invalid one, right? So that's the whole concept of defining the function that will really help you to put or modularize your code, especially once you are building the big application, and really help you to manage your code efficiently. It really gives you the concept of reusability with the help of the parameters, that you can reuse your code again and again. And once you have multiple functions, then these functions can sit under some sort of namespace or library or in some sort of packages that you can further import, and you can use them to get the functionality across multiple projects. For example, if you build one functionality as part of your one project and you want to use into another, you generally build the package based on those functionalities, and then you import those packages. Now that's initiating a very interesting discussion, which I'm going to do in the next video, the concept of our packages, right, which we normally import as part of our program in the start, right? And the Python has its own website where it is keeping the track of all the packages. It's the PyPy. You can call it the way you want to, but that's where you can find all the packages that has been developed as part of the Python, right? And let me quickly go back to the front page, and you can see we have 497,000 projects, sorry, 497,000 projects which are registered with PyPy, so which is obviously show us the width or the capabilities of Python language, right? So but definitely we're going to discuss it further in the next section, right? So feel free if you have any question, more than happy to answer. Otherwise, thanks for watching this video and stay tuned for the next one.